All right. We don't call this the push week. We call this the push fortnight because the next 2 weeks are going to be sick. This week is going to be Tyrannical Entangling Bursting and Fortified Volcanic Spiteful. I know from reading the comment section last time we had Bursting, the commenters don't understand why Bursting is so advantageous for high-level players. At the same point, though, for high-level groups, you're going to see this be one of the weeks that the top-level and top-end players are going to be able to push the highest level keys. This is typically due to the fact that Entangling and Bursting are non-affixes in regards to timer impedance, where Sanguine, obviously, is going to have a lot of invisible time loss with how much the mobs are just going to be healed. Incorporeal, requires a couple of globals to deal with. Where Tyrannical, Entangling, Bursting, there might be some friction in regards to what pulls you're able to do versus not do because of Bursting, but by and large, healers are kind of expected to just be able to heal through Bursting. I've seen clips of Resto Druids, just heal through 25 stacks of Bursting whenever people press their defensives. Mistweaver Monks have Revival every 3 minutes. Disc Priests have Mass Dispel to be able to remove Bursting every so often as well. So this is going to be a great week. On top of that, and I wish this happened before last week's this week in Mythic Plus, we got massive Rise nerfs, and we can kind of talk about them. So Rise was a key that was already done on a 30 prior to these nerfs. So it was definitely a key that was doable at effectively the same level as all of the other, high level keys. However, I think the issue with Rise is that it wasn't very consistent, and the times that you were able to do that is not very often. But now with the nerfs to Rise, I mean, these are just absolutely massive, and we can go take a look at Raider O. We're going to see, clicked on the wrong one, Murzon's Rise. There's more 30s being done now, and there was 2 30s that were done this week on Sanguine, which probably would have been very challenging otherwise. A lot of this comes down to the fact that while the timer wasn't directly nerfed, it was indirectly nerfed by these mini bosses getting their HP reduced. This area is also a little bit easier due to the maiden damage being drastically lower. The Spurlock dash is now less often. On top of that, Tears barrier decreased its shield size by 15%, and there's also a little bit of damage lost on Battlefield and Deus. Now, previously, you would be coming out of the first area, and if you were doing it about 9 minutes, that would have been on pace. We've actually been seeing a lot of people come out of that area at about like the 8:15 to even like 7:30 mark, and be just a lot faster coming out of that first area. And, the keys now being done at about a key level higher because of it. Beyond that, we've kind of seen some of the results as to, I guess we'll talk about the Rise. The Rise now for the first week is not an absolute F tier on sub creation for completion percentage, which means that, the nerfs were sufficient enough to moving the needle to make it allegedly easier than Everbloom and Throne of the Tides. Now, Everbloom and Throne of the Tides are really, really hard on Sanguine. And so it might be something that Rise moves back down, especially on Tyrannical. However, it's a much better dungeon. As for the class tuning, Ret Paladin and Shadow Priest, kind of like as predicted, moved up a lot in terms of value. Ret Paladin definitely a good meter spec. I think that they're starting to play maybe a different build that helps them increase their single target damage. I'm kind of interested in seeing how that fares on a Tyrannical setting. For Shadow Priest, a lot of Shadow's strengths come in the fact that they bring Fortitude to the group, and they're actually doing competitive amounts of overall DPS in a lot of instances. They do decent prio as well. So depending on the composition that Shadow's played in, it can be pretty good. It's not great in every single composition, though, kind of similar to Ret Paladin. This is a pretty wide open season for DPS diversity. I think that the only thing that seems... Okay, so about in 100 runs, all but 4 of them have a Fire Mage, and all but 15 of them have an Aug Evoker. So, Fire Mage and Aug Evoker are still very, very popular, don't get me wrong. But in regards to, 3rd DPS slots and kind of like what DPS compositions are very good, it's still a bit up in the air. People are playing a lot of different stuff. Balanced Druid is seeing a large surge in popularity. Havoc Demon Hunter is still quite good. Rogue is incredibly strong. You're even seeing some people play sub. There's even this group is insane. They're playing 3 DPS with Balanced Druid, Sub Rogue, Unholy Death Knight. I mean, that was in a Rise, but you're seeing a lot of different stuff in regards to compositions now due to the buffs. And this is probably the best diversity that we've seen since Dragonflight Season 1, which is, you can never complain too much about it. Healer diversity is also at an all-time high. Tank diversity has been better before. It seems like we're seeing a lot more people jumping on the Vengeance Demon Hunter train. Less Paladins as a whole, but Paladins still, played fairly regularly, and the other tanks not played as much by any stretch of the imagination. Overall, though, it's going to be a nice couple of weeks for pushing keys if you're looking to jump into it. Tyrannical Entangling Bursting and Fortified Volcanic Spiteful are going to be pretty optimal. Hope to see you guys in next week's video, and I will see you guys later.